Welcome to the markup lesson. In this tutorial, we will show you how to make a vertical marking of the roof surface before laying slate in double rectangular slating technique. So, we have a typical roof, with one chimney. Every time before you start laying slate, you need to clear the roof of everything unnecessary and mark it out. First you must assess what you have on the roof, and based on this divide the roof into zones. We mark the extreme lines close to the obstacles. We retreat only 5 mm inside zone. 5 mm from the chimney inward and 5 mm from the outer edge of the roof inward. This is the main zone. This is an additional. Now we measure the width of these zones. Since in practice significant errors are very often encountered in construction, we measure this width. And this width. We have already measured. We got 8,655 mm here. And 8,649 mm on top. If you're watching from the US and are used to inches, just understand that it's important at this stage to measure all distances with high accuracy. We work with slate in the format of 40 by 25 centimeters. Since we will be working in millimeter, we convert the width of the tile to millimeter. We get 250 millimeters and add an average design gap of 5 millimeters. We get the estimated width of one tile, 255 millimeters. This is the estimated width of one slate. Next step. Now we have to determine how many of these slates will fit in a zone of this width. To do this, we must divide the zone width by the calculated slate width. So 8655 divided by 255 and we get 33.94 tile. We round this up to 34. Now we know that 34 tiles will fit in our zone. Now we can find out the actual width of one slate with gaps. We divide the zone width into 34 parts. 8,655 divide 34 equals 254.559 millimeters. We mark the lines on the roof every 3 tiles, so we multiply the resulting width by 3. Multiply 254.6 by 3, we get 763.67 millimeters. Now we can draw marks on the bottom edge. We recommend doing this as accurately as possible. It is best to stretch the tape measure to its full length and mark from one point each time, multiplying the resulting figure by 2, 3, 4, 5 and so on. Now we make the same calculations in the top edge. We divide the width of 8,649 by 34, we get 254.4 millimeters. Multiply by 3 we get 763.14. The resulting size, you tell your guys who are already sitting on the roof with an unwound tape measure. It is important here not to get tired and always measure from one side. Follow their actions. Once marked, you can mark the lines with a roofing chalk line, or Schlagschner in German. In this zone, you can lay whole slates. No cutting near the chimney. No cutting on this edge. You simply lift the slate to the roof and lay it according to the markup. Now we look at the zone that remains. We accurately measured it and we have it at 2,534 millimeters. We need to find out how many slates will fit in it. Divide 2534 by 255 to get 9.937 slates. Round up to 10 slates. Now we determine the actual width of the slate with gaps. 2534 divided by 10 we get 253.4 millimeters. In this zone, the stone with a gap was 254.6 millimeters, and in this one it turned out to be 253.4 millimeters. You see, the difference is quite small. This is the difference in gaps. At the same time, the stone surface is stretched or narrowed like an accordion. There is a chimney in this zone, and it would be advisable to mark your line under each slate, or after 2. To summarize, there are 2 paths to marking the roof. The first is the one that I showed here, the second is marking as the roof is covered. You go and mark in front of you how far you reach. If you mark the roof as it is covered, you will not see the whole picture and the quality of the slate laying will depend on the circumstances. You will spend more time on this process in total, your guys will be constantly distracted by this. Switch from one job to another with all the ensuing consequences. It will be much more efficient and better if you clean the entire surface of everything superfluous and make vertical markings once. This will be a strategically correct decision, because doing the work once is more effective than doing it many times over a little. To make this job as comfortable as possible, get ready, buy a good chalk line, fill it with new powder, buy a long tape measure. Believe me, if you do this with wet powder, it will be unbearable. These 2 videos are your tools to teach your guys. I have already sent it to you. For your next project. You can simply send it to your roofer, who will expertly place the slates on the roof following these step-by-step instructions, and you don't have to spend time teaching them this process on the roof. In the next email I will introduce you old German slating. Check your emails.